Hello, hello. Good Tuesday. Happy Tuesday? Hello, happy day, everyone. Yeah, sorry, I'm starting later than I want, and unfortunately the stream will have to be shorter than I want as well. Unfortunately I have some obligations I have to take care of that kind of spurred up out of nowhere for me. So, we will take it from there. Tuesday, isn't it? It's Tuesday. Alright, let's get Umineko no Naku Koro ni in there. Ow! Oh, hello, Silence! How are you? I mean, It's Umineko. We have to scream. All right. How's the audio? Let me know how things are, you guys. Oh, that's right. Something fucking happened, I think. Alright, hold on. Let's do system. Let's backlog. Okay. Alright, so, last time on Umineko no Naku Koro ni, we had another slew of deaths. This time it was Eva and Hideyoshi Ushinomiya. Both of them were found dead in a locked room, a locked bedroom. Eva was found dead on the bed with a mysterious spear-like object piercing her forehead, and Hideyoshi was found dead in the shower with the water running, also with a mysterious spear-like instrument plunged into his forehead as well. So, it's starting to get a little spooky now. Another closed door. They had to break open the chain lock with some wire cutters, so they couldn't even get in. And another occult symbol was drawn on the wall, on the door. So very, very spooky. So everybody came running to check out the scene. Battler and all the rest of the kids ran in. I feel absolutely nothing for Ava's death, but just a little for Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi's a good bean. Ava, I have a complicated relationship with Ava. Very complicated. But definitely the first time reading episode 1, yeah, like 0. I expect the child. Maria Nobara. Ooh. So, we'll kind of just reread a little bit here to catch up. So obviously, the kids have found out as well. Maria tried to comfort Battler in a mechanical-sounding voice. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's right. He's upset because now George not only lost his fiancée, but he's lost both of his parents as well. Oh, Battler, don't cry. Don't cry. Maria tried to comfort Battler in a mechanical-sounding voice. Battler violently wiped his tears. Yeah, damn it. I won't cry anymore. Tears of regret, tears of sadness. I won't shed them again. It's all useless. The witch got me backed into a corner. Dameda. Zen dameda. Her and her even more. I'm always on the defensive, and that's useless. It's all useless. I'll spin the chessboard around. That bastard probably thinks we'll be running scared like sheep until tomorrow before we try anything. But guess what? I'll spin it around. That bastard can't escape this island until tomorrow either. We won't be hiding away, pissing ourselves. That bastard will. I'll expose you tonight. Or I'll expose you. You'll see. By tomorrow. No. Screw tomorrow. Tonight. Before tonight's over, I'll be gripping you by the collar. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look. Ushiromiya Eva, found on the bed of a guest room inside the mansion with a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of her forehead. Ushiromiya Hideyoshi, found in the bathroom of the same guest room that Eva was found in. Like Eva, there was a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of his forehead. You can't see either of them by looking through the gap in the door while the chain is set. You can't see them, so you can't reach them. Hey, how's a human possibly... How could a... How, hey, sorry, I can't read today. Hey, how's... I think there's a typo there. Hayes, how could... Maybe... See, how could a human possibly kill them? Bam. At any rate, we'll lock this room and leave everything until the police come. In there, Laura Battler's a reincarnation of Phoenix Wright. Yes. By the way, have you seen that that mod fan game? It's literally Phoenix Wright modded to be a battler between Beatrice and Battler. A trial between Beatrice and Battler. Sorry guys, this is gonna be long. No objections, I take it? I mean, the one person who would object to you's dead, so... Natsuhi announced it as though she didn't care whether they agreed or not. If anyone had a right to object, it would have been George, but he looked as though he'd shed enough tears. George nodded slightly, still facing away from the others. And when he stood up, everyone else agreed too. Natsuhi still hadn't opened that western envelope of the family head that she picked up. But now that they decided to leave this room, she decided to unseal in the parlor. Oh no, don't tell me I'm getting that weird stuff again. Where everyone could watch. As soon as they walked out into the hallway to head back to the parlor, some of them immediately felt something out of place. Or maybe sensed something strange. Okay, there we go. I was gonna say, did it freeze? What? Ooh. Stinks? Did you notice it too, Maria? Seriously, what's that smell? Ugh, it's awful. When everyone sniffed the air, they did notice a horrible burnt smell drifting through the hallway. One that none of them had smelled until then. I will go quickly and check the kitchen. I'm sure I turned the flame off. After noticing the burnt smell, it was natural that Kumasawa, who had been using the burner in the kitchen, suspected that her own slip-up had caused it. Kumasawa hastily dashed away. Kanon, go with Kumasawa. Do not let her be alone. Yes! After nodding at Genji's order, Kanon followed after her. He wasn't running, but as he followed her, he tried to search for the cause of the smell in other directions as well. Oh, stinks! Oh. It truly is a stench that makes the nose wrinkle. However, that doesn't mean we could just open a window for ventilation. Oh, Natsuhi was reluctant to open the windows in a situation where self-defense was so important. Let us run the fan. I do not believe there will be any need to open the windows. George, Aniki, is it okay if I talk to you? If it's about finding the culprit, then I have no problems. It seemed that George had managed to climb out of the abyss of sorrow. Let me do this. Let me scooch over a little bit. We don't have a guest on tonight, so. All that filled his chest now was the quiet flame of hatred towards the culprit who had stolen the lives of the one he loved and his beloved parents. Zen! Hello! The chain for this room was set. From what I could tell by looking at it, I'm positive that it couldn't be opened from the outside. In other words, this was a perfect closed room. That does seem to be the case. In the case of the Rose Garden storehouse, they might have sneaked the shutter's key out of the servant room. Or maybe they had a duplicate key. I can imagine many ways they could have done it. But this chain is different. Among generally used locking techniques, a chain is the simplest one to create a closed room with. Only a chain will block everyone from coming from the outside as long as it isn't physically broken. So, does this mean the culprit couldn't have gone in or out through the door? That's interesting. Just a few hours ago, I seem to remember everyone making a fuss over how to enter a room without using the door. Back then, we were all losing our cool, wondering how grandfather had disappeared from his room. The receipt Aunt Ava stuck in the door on a whim proved that the door had remained sealed. And since Aunt Natsuhi was the only other person to enter or exit during that time, she was under suspicion. Aunt Ava proposed a theory about how Aunt Natsuhi might have thrown grandfather out the window and left by closing the door herself. But this door is much simpler. Okay. But this door is much simpler. It was sealed from the inside by the door chain. The window had also been locked from the inside, and the bodies had been inside the room. This time it really had been, without exaggeration, a true closed room. That's right. Did I break, Mother? Break? Everyone's fine. Thank you, Diggity Dave. That's right. If you include grandfather's disappearance, 3 cases have occurred, and all 3 times the door has been the point of interest. The first was the shutter. There was a key in the servant room, and if we assume someone knew about that, this can't really be called a closed room. Thank you for the hydrate. The next was the door sealed by the receipt. However, Aunt Natsuhi entered that room, so if grandfather had left through the window or had been thrown out, she would have been able to lock the window before escaping. Or, like my theory, grandfather could have hidden until the receipt was gone, then left the room later. Basically, this door can't be defeated with a handful of desperate tricks. In that sense, you really can't call this one a closed room either. And now, we have the door sealed with the door chain. Finally, we have to give up. The window, the door, everything had been locked. It was a perfect closed room. The first hadn't been a closed room because everyone could be suspected. The second hadn't been a closed room because Aunt Natsuhi could be suspected. But this time, no one could be suspected. This was a perfect closed room because the door chain formed a seal that blocked everyone equally well. In that case, did the culprit carry out the crime without entering the room? Was some method from outside the room? Good point. Even though the chain makes it impossible to open it wide enough for a person to fit through, you can open it a small crack. Did the culprit knock on the door to make them peer out before attacking them? Wait, am I missing something? Daddy, no! Daddy, yes! Yeah, you are. If Aunt Ava's body had been lying right next to the door, then it might have been possible. But she was on the bed at the back of the room. And Uncle Hideyoshi was even in the bathroom, looking from the crack in the door. You couldn't even see them, and you couldn't reach them with your hands either. Damn it. It's all useless. I don't have a clue. Something was tugging softly at my sleeve.
Never give up!
Never give up! Hi, Dad. Oh, Dad, big yawn. It was Maria. Ooh. Satisfied? What do you mean, satisfied? Butler, since you didn't want to suspect any of your relatives, you made a wish saying you wanted the culprit to be Beatrice, right? Well, Beatrice granted that wish. Just as you asked, she did something that was completely impossible for a human to make you believe in the witch. And now you're complaining? How selfish. Ouch! I tapped Maria, who was laughing unpleasantly, on the head with my fist. Sure, thanks for granting that wish. That just now was to thank you, and also to teach you to stop laughing when it's inappropriate. More importantly, tell me. There was another mysterious scribble on the door to Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Was that another magic circle? Phoenix redeemed. Ara ara. That one had a really memorable and characteristic design, so I'd hope you at least knew what it was. Ouch! Yeah, Maria is a complicated character when it comes to understanding and enjoyment. I don't know, which is why I'm letting you take the credit. Quit whining and explain. You sure are violent, Battler. I won't tell you if you're too mean. Get it? Ouch! I'll say it, stop hitting me! That's the first magic circle of the moon. What does that mean? What is the magic circle's effect? What does the Hebrew writing mean? The words are from the Old Testament, Psalms 107, verse 16. For he has broken gates of brass and cuts through bars of iron. Psychopath is a weird way of saying preteen. Oh my god. This magic circle has two effects. First, it can open a door regardless of which method has been used to lock it. That sure is convenient. So you're saying they're trying to make it look like they're a witch because this closed room has a door that can't be opened without relying on magic? And the other effect?
When you're blocked by an unopenable doors in all directions, it opens a door. By using it in a different situation, it gives you a solution you hadn't even thought of until then. Generally speaking, you receive the powers of observation and discernment, inspiration, and intrusion. Beatrice is trying to provoke you, since there's no way lowly humans like Battler could figure it out, how this door was opened. Ouch!
Okay, good work, so shut up. Sounds great. I'll accept this challenge from the witch. Hey, Zen's got some good deductive reasoning, wouldn't you say? Murray-chan, things like witches and demons don't exist in this world. Someone killed father and mother. Daddy, no! Oh, Daddy, yes! Things like witches and demons don't exist in this world. Someone killed father and mother. I don't know whether that was someone I know or not. But either way, it was definitely a human. Yeah, but how? How did they reach those two through that crack in the door? It couldn't have been more than 10 centimeters wide. Hi, Yaz. Question, have you happened to play the AI Sonium files? I have not. Hello. On the other hand, for some reason, I've always hated George in this game. We love Fat George, but not one of my favorite characters, we'll put it that way. You should check it out. If you like this kind of thing, it'll suit you, I think. Gonna go for now, not doing well at the moment. Have a good stream, Laura. Absolutely, Yoi, please. Take care of yourself, okay? At any rate, I can hardly stand this stench. What in the world could it be? Kanan and Kumasawa, who had gone on ahead, realized the smell wasn't coming from the kitchen even before they arrived there. That was because they noticed an even thicker wave of stench rising up from the stairs leading to the basement, which they passed on their way to the kitchen. The boiler room. I wonder if there's something wrong with the boiler again. Those stairs led to the underground boiler room. The mansion's boiler was old and in poor condition. Both of them had witnessed problems with the boiler on several occasions, but they had never smelled the boiler belching out a stench like this before. Slam! What was that sound? The thing they heard from the basement was definitely the sound of a door closing. Kumasawa had phrased it as a question, but she already knew it couldn't be anything else. Kumasawa was so surprised at the sound her knees gave way yet again, and she cowered. God, I'm sorry, I cannot take that facial expression seriously from Kanon. It's such a goofy expression. After all, at that very moment, no one could have been in the boiler room. Just a few seconds ago, everyone had been crowded together around Eva and Hideyoshi's room. So who caused the sound of a door closing just now?
Kanon-san.
After taking a second to sort out the situation, Kanon ran down towards the basement. Since they heard the sounds of a door closing just now, and there was no sign of anyone coming up the stairs, the person who'd closed the door had to be inside the boiler room now. If the boiler room had been a dead end, Kanon wouldn't have rushed in so hastily. But Kanon was a servant, so he knew. There were two entrances to the boiler. Whoops. There were two entrances to the boiler room, one that opened to the mansion and one that opened to the courtyard. If he didn't chase them now, they might slip away. Kumasawa reached the same conclusion long after Kanon did. But she couldn't let him go alone. If the thing in the boiler room was the culprit, an opponent who had easily killed 6 adults in their first murder, then no matter how Kanon confronted them, he wouldn't be a match. Of course, with this argument, even if Kumasawa joined him, it wouldn't change anything. At any rate, after the delay, Kumasawa decided that she mustn't let Kanon go alone, and she rushed down the stairs. At that time, Kanon was already in the boiler room. The boiler room's characteristic damp heat tormented him. It had always been an unpleasantly smelly and hot place. And on top of that, the room was full of that horrible stench, which made Kanon feel like he was going to be sick. There was no doubt that this room was the source. In that case, Kanon should have been searching for where the smell was coming from. However, Kanon kept gazing straight forward as he grabbed a hatchet from the tool shelf just off to the side of the door. He hadn't stretched out his hand because he'd wanted a hatchet. He had wanted to grab a weapon, any weapon. Why? Fun fact, both in the anime and manga, how they draw the hatchet is Rena's hatchet from Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. So it's just a fun little, you know, thing there. Plus, the outfit and hairstyle of Kanon is actually very reminiscent of, sorry. Itchy. Itchy. Wow. This is purely a visual novel. You do not make any choices. With the exception of the final visual novel, you do get one choice. But it is, actually... Ow, hit my knee. Ah! You get, like, one choice. Question you posed earlier today, hon. Go to the Den of Behemoths and your bloodless ability after reading the achievement. Or play as Bloodless and have her do it. I'll just play as Bloodless. Do I unlock her after Zangetsu? Rena! She's the best character in all Higurashi. I want to take her home.
Hello.
I do love Rena. She was originally my absolute favorite, her and Hanyu. I have very much come to love and have my heart break a lot for Rika as well. So really, Rena, I absolutely adore her. She was my first favorite. Hanyu is my all-time favorite, and Rika kind of has my heart nowadays. No thanks to Go and Sotsu. I do not want to talk about how much I absolutely fucking hate Go and Sotsu. But as far as the original run of Higurashi, visual novels wise, I love just about every character except for Satoko. I've never been a big Satoko fan, and Go and Sotsu made me really fucking hate Satoko. Okay, back to the visual novel. And thank you, Az. I appreciate it. By the way... Oh, never mind. I read that one already. Kanon gazed into the darkness where the naked light bulb couldn't pierce. Then, he answered. In roulette, you bet on a number or the colors red or black, vying for a payoff. However, low-risk bets like black and red only offer a similarly low payoff. The words coming from the words coming from Kanon's mouth were swallowed up by the darkness. I think Satoko's story is the one that probably touched and impacted the most. And I remember I must have cried for I don't know how long after Volume 3. Aw. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate Satoko by any means. She was just my least favorite character. But after Go and Sotsu, I very much do not like her character at all. They did a complete disservice to the entire franchise, in my opinion, but they made me take a character that was already kind of my least favorite and turn her into a character I legitimately despise now. I fucking can't stand her. If you want to do investigation choices, but more or less the same kind of vibe, you'll like the Sonium files. Thank you, I'll definitely have to check it out. The words coming from Kennen's mouth were swallowed up by the darkness. That darkness suddenly started to swirl, glittering. It was such a fantastical scene. Golden sparkling butterflies that hid in the shadows all over the boiler room. Keiichi the goat flapped their wings, twinkling beautifully, and gathered in the darkness, disappearing. Kanen continued speaking, directing his words at the darkness as it swallowed up the butterflies. But as the butterflies gathered in the darkness, they they would certainly laugh. But Kanen continued to speak without faltering in the slightest. However, if you bet on something with a lower probability, your payoff increase is proportional to the risk. The master called succeeding despite an astronomical risk a miracle, and called the astronomical payoff granted as a result magic. I have no interest in what kind of magic you and the master were seeking when you spun that roulette, but you forgot something. You forgot that in roulette, there's a pocket that's neither black nor red. Roulette has a special pocket called 0, which means that the house takes everything in certain variants of the game. This means that all of the coins bet on the table will be swept up, just as though everyone has forfeit. I set my heart on just one thing. I decided that if Shannon were to be killed and I was left alive, I'd sacrifice this life of mine and bring this roulette of yours to ruin. Ooh, a 0 and a double 0. Scary. This isn't one of Master's rules, and it certainly isn't one of yours. I made this rule myself. I'm not furniture anymore. I'm the 0 on your roulette. Kennen's face twisted with humiliation. It was clear that his defiance against his own weakness was being ridiculed somehow. Kennen's brow creased even further, and a fierce expression that he'd never shown to anyone appeared on his face. The hand grasping the hatchet was shaking. His sweat became drops, which slid downward. It was clear that the emotion causing Kennen's hand to shake wasn't just anger. However, Kennen suppressed that emotion. I won't let your words lead me astray again. This is where the demon's roulette ends. Wait another 1,000 years in hell for your next summoner. Beatrice! When Kennen realized raised the hatchet and tried to dive into the darkness definitely sneered. It sneered at that courage as if it were vulgar, lazy, futile, and meaningless. Cannon, his hatchet still held aloft, couldn't take another step after that. With a clang, the hatchet that he'd been grasping fell and rolled on the floor. And following that, with a pair of thuds, Kennon's knees hit left, then right. Ah ha 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 dot wave, yes. That hand, which looked like it was trying to catch the sky now that the hatchet had been dropped, gradually lowered, landing on his chest. Then, the other hand did the same. Right there, a handle with a demon-shaped design was buried into his chest. The same type of weapon that had been stabbed into Eva and Hideyoshi's foreheads was in Kennon's chest. Cannon was curled up in anguish, fresh blood dribbling from the corner of his mouth. It was makeup too extreme for Cannon's white skin. Around this scene, the glittering gold butterflies danced through the darkness, mesmerizing. It was a beautiful, beautiful dance. A funeral march of tribute, ridicule, and contempt for a single boy's self-sacrifice. Cannon had already been prepared for his own death, but although he could do nothing but accept the death he had received, he attempted one last measure of resistance. He grasped the handle of the weapon sticking into his chest with both hands, and gritted his teeth with an acute, unearthly pain. He pulled it out. For only a moment, a bright red spray gushed out. It made an unpleasant bloop sound. It probably resembled the sound of Cannon's soul as it was sucked into the swamp of the dead. Cannon-san? Someone! Kumasawa screamed at the incomprehensible sight in front of her. Cannon was lying in a pool of blood. Kumasawa's heart was a complete mess. What a horrible fate! He wouldn't have been killed if I had been with him. What incredible luck. If I had been with him, I might have been killed too. As she screamed, her expression was filled with complete confusion, and all the muscles in her face were pulled up, almost as though she was smiling while crying. But no one could have made fun of an expression like this. What is it, Kumasawa? Answer me, Kumasawa! The first one to dash in was Natsuhi, holding the rifle. Battler and Genji dashed in after her. Normally, they would probably start discussing the origin of that violent stench filling the boiler room. But after they saw Cannon, who was lying on the ground as if he were drowning in an ocean of his own blood, the stench wasn't important anymore. Cannon! Answer me! Genji, bring Dr. Nanjo here. Natsuhi realized that even though Kanan was on the verge of death, he was still conscious. So she sent Genji to get the doctor. Natsuhi, holding the rifle aloft, faced the darkness in the center of the boiler room and shouted, "Who is hiding over there? Come out quietly. If you don't come out from there, I'll shoot without mercy." "We need light." "Natsuhi, let's light him up." Rattler, thinking quickly, took a large flashlight from the tool shelf along the door and used its light to cut through the darkness Natsuhi was glaring into. "Natsuhi, the way you're holding that thing, it's going to rip your arm out of the shoulder socket." "Oh, you should see." Oh. Hold on. We're gonna do something real quick. First, we're gonna save. Second, we're gonna do a little fun thing. Gun. You think that she's holding the gun awkwardly there. This is the original sprite artwork. Yeah. She is not gonna have a shoulder ever again. Her entire clavicle is gone. Yeah. I love you, Ryukishi. I love you. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Peter. Nice guy.
Nice cock. Hi, Ash. Thank you. I'm eating my Pop-Tart. She's gonna fire it, and it's going to fly back from under her arm. Yeah. It's more of the pose of holding the gun. It's gonna be holding. Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Let's jump back in. But the light only shone on mechanical-looking piping and door. The door had been left open a small crack, and it was obvious that someone had left through there in a hurry. Natsuhi, where does that door go? Genji! Where does that door lead to? The courtyard. Like hell I'd let you get away, you damn bastard!
Koyaro!
The battler let out a war cry as he slammed into the door. Cool air from outside suddenly rushed in. There were some thin, rough stairs leading up. Oh yeah, Iwaihime? Iwaihime. I've never gotten a chance to read it fully. But I know of it. I know the story of it. Yeah. Battler ran up them, shouting. Wait, Battler-kun! It's dangerous to be on your own right now! Natsuhi was also rushing up the stairs, chasing after Battler. They were in the courtyard. The courtyard of the mansion had been built strictly for lighting purposes, so it wasn't a very elegant place. Wasn't locked or even closed, so it just swings up and Battler just falls face first onto the floor. Yeah. Because it was surrounded on all sides, the air was calm and completely undisturbed, even though they could hear the sounds of strong winds. There was only the gentle, sorrowful rain. As he ran through the cold and scattered raindrops, dashing up the stairs into the courtyard, Battler looked in every direction. Sorrow for rain is the worst kind. Absolutely, agreed Blubwa. Of course, the odds of him finding a suspicious silhouette just standing around nonchalantly were pretty much zero. Battler spun, looking all around. He turned again and again. Kept spinning until he almost lost his sense of direction. He prayed that he would see the culprit somewhere in the scenery, but there was no chance. All he saw as he spun was more and more of the mansion's heartless walls and windows. Furthermore, there were 2 entrances into the mansion from the courtyard, and neither of them were locked. Because the courtyard couldn't be entered from outside the mansion, the doors had been built without locks. He didn't know which one they'd left through. He had to give up. Battler pounded the wall with his fist, swearing, Battler-kun, you mustn't run ahead by yourself. Battler-kun. Battler pressed his forehead against the wall, which he scratched at with his fingernails as he cried. Damn it. Damn it! Damn it! Aunt Eva and Hinkle Hideyoshi, and now Ken-kun. You killed a full 6 people. And that wasn't enough. So you had to kill 3 more? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
Thank you for the alert, Krona.
Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi were always kind and fun. I just met Kanon yesterday, but I'm sure I'd have gotten along fine with him. Why did you kill them? Why? Why? You know, when people die, they don't come back to life again, right? They aren't gonna quickly sprout up again like bamboo shoots. Why'd you kill them? Why? Why? Hey, Battler, I thought you weren't gonna cry anymore. Cry, baby. Battler was a boy who couldn't understand the feelings of pain and regret in a person's heart. So, he cried, with all his strength. Natsuhi, who had always thought of Battler as a frank person, was a little surprised to find he had his delicate side. And at the same time, she understood how easily hurt the heart of a young person could be, so she held him. It's all right. I will definitely protect you, George-kun, Maria-chan, and Jessica. As a mother, as the representative of the Ushiramiya family. Battler, after sobbing into Natsuhi's chest for a while, wiped his tears with a bitter smile, as though he had been like that the whole time, and tried to appear as though he cried more than enough already. Anyway, let's go back down for now. Protecting ourselves is a higher priority than finding the culprit. Tomorrow, the boat will arrive. After that happens, police will come, and everything should be brought to light. There's no way the culprit can escape this island, no matter how much they struggle. That's right. When the police come, when the seagulls cry, the crime will be solved. But, for some reason, Battler felt a slight sense of uneasiness, as if the seagulls would never cry again. That couldn't be true. When the typhoon passes, surely the lively seagulls will return to the arbor again. The fact that Natsuhi is the adult who remains at least a little reassuring, I think. She has more responsibility than others. Yeah, Natsuhi is my favorite Ushiromiya, for sure. She's my favorite of the family. Definitely my favorite of the wives. Or the women, I should say. The Ushiromiya women. I like Natsuhi a lot. She's not perfect, she's definitely flawed, but I feel like she's... Yeah. I understand her a lot more than some of the other characters. Even if and when she does bad things, you can at least understand why she does it. I returned to the boiler room along with Aunt Natsuhi and told everyone weekly that we hadn't found anything. We heard that Dr. Nanjo and George Aniki had carried Kanan-kun to the servants' room. Or the best room. Yes, Battler, of course. The servant room had a first aid kit and a sink, and could apparently function as a nurse's office. Kumasawa-san and Jessica had accompanied them. Stains from Kanan-kun's blood remained on the floor. Judging by the large amount of blood lost, and the ruthless shape of the weapon that had fallen carelessly onto the ground. Yes, no, absolutely. I figured that Dr. Nanjo's treatment would probably end in vain. That weapon was doubtlessly the same type that had been stuck in Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's foreheads. But wait, isn't the demonic design on the handle a little different? There seemed to be some small differences in that part. Still, as far as their overall shape was concerned, the weapons were all the same type. Though it had seemed brutal, we'd left the weapons stuck into Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi to preserve the crime scene. So this was the first time we were able to have a perfect view of the entire weapon. As we expected, the weapon was not bladed like a knife, but shaped like an ice pick. Or rather, a thin stake. And it had a spiral-shaped pattern, sort of like a drill. It looked like something that might have been driven into the hearts of human sacrifices in some demonic ritual. Including the handle, it was 25 centimeters long. Half of that was the stake-shaped part, which was stained with deep red blood. The length of the blood-stained part made it clear just how deeply it must have penetrated into Kanan-kun's chest. But Aunt Natsuhi and the rest didn't even look at the weapon, and instead stood in front of the incinerator, where the horrible stench was emanating from. He must have dragged it out. Dragged out that thing which had been burning in the furnace. It was still smoldering and kept sending out dense waves of that awfully unpleasant smell. Genji-san and Maria stared down at it. Aunt Natsuhi probably couldn't stand to look directly at it. She kept shaking her head, her back to it. Thought nothing could surprise me after everything that's happened. But this is... I stood there for a while, moaning, with a rising urge to vomit. The true source of that unearthly stench was a scorched corpse that had been cooking inside the incinerator. The clothes, the surface of the body, and the hair were all hideously burned. That grotesque corpse was in the state where not the face nor the age, nor even the gender could be guessed at. But when I thought about it calmly, I realized that a corpse appearing at this time could only be one person. It was Grandfather, who had disappeared that morning, and whose whereabouts had been unknown. I believe it is most likely the Master. I agree that he would pass away in such a state. It's heart-rending. But is there any proof that this corpse really is Grandfather? It's burnt so black you can't even tell what sex it is. Battler-kun, look at the feet. Natsuki, with her handkerchief over her mouth and her eyes averted, pointed and told me to look at the burnt corpse's feet. Notice how there are 6 toes on each foot. Huh? Ah, you're right. Just as Genji-san had said, there were 6 toes on each foot. Each individual toe had looked so normal in this line that I hadn't noticed. The master was born with 6 toes on both of his feet. Consequently, the master was entrusted with the revival of the Ushimiya family. I have heard that since long ago. Cases of polydactyly were common in the Ushimiya family. It's probably hereditary. Polydactyly literally means many fingers. Because of a little mistake by God when the person is born, one of their toes or fingers splits into 2, and the total number increases. But a big deal isn't usually made of polydactyly in the world at large. That's because it isn't a disease, just something people are born with. So while they are still babies, at about the time they turn 1 year old, they can be taken to the hospital and given surgery to make them normal. Even a child with polydactyly can be treated before they become aware, so they might not even remember it themselves. By the way, it seemed that there was a possibility for this to occur in 1 out of every 2,000 babies. So even though it's not usually seen, it isn't that rare at all. Speaking of which, I think Uncle Hideyoshi mentioned something to me long ago. Something about how even Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who unified Japan at the end of the Sengoku period, had 6 fingers on 1 hand. According to Aunt Natsuhi, among the many Ushimiya family heads, the one most praised for their wisdom, all had polydactyly. Because of that, when grandfather was born, his relatives were all excited at the thought he might become another wise leader. And when the leading relatives all died in the Great Kanto earthquake, it was apparently argued that grandfather should be the one to restore the family because of the auspicious sign of his birth. If grandfather hadn't disliked his position as a head so much, this 6th toe probably would have been pretty unlucky for him. Come to think of it, I've read about the same country where it's believed people with polydactyly should be treated as gods and revered. This is besides the point. But it's fairly common in mystery novels for a corpse to be burned to hide its identity. But I guess that in grandfather's case, just toasting him wouldn't be enough. And grandfather's body was not simply burnt. It was just like Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi, and the thing that had been stabbed into Kanan-kun's chest. One of those demon ice picks was stuck into his forehead. The head's ring is not on his finger. So the letter last night was telling the truth. Father would probably be horribly disappointed. Natsuhi-san let her head droop and close her eyes tightly. This room had also become a vital crime scene for us to hand over to the police. It was decided that we would leave grandfather's corpse here and lock the room, sealing it. It isn't clear when grandfather's corpse started burning in the incinerator, since, according to Genji, the strength of the flames hadn't been all that strong. The body must have started burning a long time ago, so that stench could slowly creep out of the furnace and fill the room bit by bit, eventually pouring out and climbing up the staircase. Putting aside whether he was rare or well done, grandfather had been brought out, killed, and burned even though he had started out locked away in the closed room created by his autolock. There's probably no doubting this. However, according to Genji-san, the boiler room is usually locked. The possibility that someone outside our group had snuck in and committed the crime was overwhelmingly high. And there was also a good chance that this person was walking around with something, like a master key. After all, the doors and windows throughout the mansion had been checked. But despite that, the culprit was able to strut around the mansion freely. Oh, I'm so cold, you guys. Give me a second. Oh no, never mind. Alright, hold on. 1 second. Hi, Bags! Come on out. Okay, so I was gonna grab like my heating blanket, but Beanbo, one of my kitties, Beanbo, she's sleeping on it, and that is more important. So I am getting out the big boy. Come in here, wearable blanket. Yeah! I'm feeling sexy and I know it! Boom, ba-da, ba-ba, ba-da, ba-ba, ba-da, ba-ba, ba-da, ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-da, ba-ba. Sorry, I apologize. Theory time. Yes. Itchy. Does this crime confirm that a 19th person exists? Oh. There's still that contradiction, since they're trying to tout their existence without ever showing themselves once. Along with Kirei-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. By spinning the chessboard around once more, the very fact this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists means that the existence of the 19th person is even less plausible. As long as that 19th person doesn't show themselves in front of us. If the culprit could get grandfather out through the door sealed by the receipt, if they could... Why is it slowing down? If they could kill Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi from the other side of a door sealed by a chain, then could they possibly go so far as to create a fictional 19th person through strange tricks and devices? If we still want to believe that the culprit is amongst the 18, then the list of suspects has grown very short. The 4 of us kids, Aunt Natsuhi, Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, Kumasawa-ba-chan. Why is it loading like this? And Dr. Nanjo. Alright, hold on, let me try something real quick. I'm going to close that down. I don't know why it's acting up like that. That's really annoying. Okay, we're gonna boot it back up one more time. Bootin' bootios. Boot bootios. Hey, boot bootios. Bootios. Hey. Okay. Forest kids, Aunt Natsuhi, Genji-san, Kumasawa-ba-chan, and Dr. Nanjo. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, we can't be sure of that. Just a second ago, we started doubting whether the corpse here was actually grandfather's, right? Maybe we could think of other bodies in the same way. For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly smashed. Some of the bodies had kept enough of their faces for us to confirm who they were, but that old bastard, for example, had lost his entire face, as though the whole thing had been neatly peeled off. We only figured out which body it was by their clothes and surroundings. Did the culprit prepare a fake body beforehand and alter it to make it look like they've died? Even though they were actually hiding somewhere after committing the crime. It may sound ridiculous, but it wouldn't be an impossible trick to pull off. It's too early to give in to this 19th person. No, this witch. That's an interesting theory. Maria-chan, you mustn't stare so fixedly anymore. Come on, Butler-kun too. I'm worried about Kanon's condition. We mustn't remain in a place like this any longer than necessary. Let us return. Maria didn't go out with everyone else, but remained in the boiler room. The thing she was staring so fixedly at probably wasn't grandfather's body, but the demon ice pick sticking out of his forehead. It was probably the sort of item that an enthusiast couldn't bear to ignore. I tapped her on the head. Hey, Maria. What's Beatrice after? Is it all of our lives?
Beatrice will revive very soon. At that time, none shall be left alive.
How can you laugh at something like that? Do you think you're the only one who's safe? Why don't you feel like you're in danger? Why aren't you scared?
Beatrice made a promise. She said she's gonna take me to the Golden Land. It's a wonderful place where you have no obligations, everyone's always together, and everyone is always nice to everybody else. I'm looking forward to it. That time will come very soon now.
Just what kind of person is Maria? I only know what Maria was like 6 years ago, when she was 3. She was once a pure and obedient, a good kid. This new Maria 6 years later, and the Maria I knew, didn't seem to fit together. Just who is she? This witch who calls herself Maria. To Maria, who obstinately believes in the witch. Oh, obstinately believes in the witch. This series of unsolvable crimes is proof that the witch actually exists. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it becomes a little harder for the rest of us to not believe in Beatrice. It must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives, who once firmly denied the witch's existence, start acknowledging that witch's existence one by one. Is that why she's in high spirits? Maria, let me ask this one more time. You'll probably answer the same way anyway, but I'll ask just once more. Yesterday, you were given a letter in the Rose Garden. Who gave it to you?
Like I said, Beatrice. Ballard still doesn't believe. Oh.
Maria only repeated what she had already said. Maria met with the 19th person, the witch. Was that really a 19th person? Or did one of the 18 just get her to say that? All that is certain is that Maria has been with the rest of us constantly, has always had an alibi, and hasn't done anything suspicious. She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and certainly isn't the 19th person. Supposedly. That's right. I wonder what's written in the... Oh, that's right. I wonder what's written in the letter we picked up in Aunt Ava's and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Aunt Natsuki should still have it with her. What time is it right now? Caballero! Thank you for the hydrate!
Caballero, 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 caballero.
Oh gosh, how long do I have? Give me 1 second, you guys. Okay. In the end, Kanen-kun did not regain consciousness. Even though Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him. Of course, there was very little that could be done on an island like this without medicine or proper facilities. However, Kanen was the only human ever to confront the culprit. Okay. However, Kanen was the only human ever to confront the culprit. If only he could give us some kind of clue. However, at the time they carried Kanen away, it was already too late. My sincere apologies. Without proper facilities, there was nothing I could do about such a serious wound. No, that's perfectly understandable. Thank you so much for giving it your very best. Dr. Nanjo's shirt had been sprayed with a violent spurt of blood, so it was easy to imagine the devotion in which he had tried to save Kanen's life up until the last second. So does this mean... Aha! It updated. Servant Kanen, found in the boiler room with a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of his chest. How presumptuous of a lowly furniture like that. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying softly. Phoenix.
Ooh, chua.
Alright, let's see. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying softly. She had probably been taking care of Kanen-kun until the moment of his death. George Aniki tried to approach her with words of comfort, but when Jessica pushed him away, he stopped trying to force her to talk and left her alone. If only I hadn't let Kanen-san go alone. Oh. Do not let that bother you. If you had been with him, you would have probably been attacked as well. He foolishly rushed on ahead and paid for his mistake. How can you say it like that? Kanen-kun stopped the culprit, spotted the culprit, and bravely stood up to them. If only Kumasawa had gone with him, the culprit might have hesitated and chosen to run away. Emotion-filled words that I never thought I'd hear coming from Jessica's mouth tumbled out. Kumasawa, looking truly sorry, could do nothing but hang her head. I want to kill this culprit for daring to call Kanen a piece of furniture. Jessica. You shouldn't talk to her now. It's the same for me. And probably you as well, right, Fatler-kun? We don't know what's going on, and it feels like our hearts are just going to split open. There were tears in George Anaki's eyes again. Seeing Jessica break down crying probably brought back the pain of losing his parents. I'd done my crying all at once, so I didn't feel like crying anymore. All at once? Battler, you've cried like a big baby like 6 times now. That was not all at once. You keep saying that, fam, that it's all out, and you're not gonna cry anymore. But you're kind of a little bitch baby crying at people's deaths. I mean, who does that? Come on. They're all gonna be resurrected in the Golden Land. Just let it happen. Batora. However, I understand how... Bagheera! Max, hey! Don't you bite her. Sorry guys, naughty kitties. However, I understood how great the pain in our hearts was.
It's okay, Jessica. You'll be able to meet Canon again soon.
Stop it! I don't need you to try to console me like that.
Beatrice will resurrect the dead and even loves that have been lost. So you'll definitely be able to meet him soon. Then everyone will be able to live in peace.
So the one who killed Kanonkud is this Beatrice who supposedly gave you that letter yesterday? Where is she? Where is she hiding? I'll find her and tear her apart! Tell me! You know who the culprit really is, don't you? What do you know, and what are you hiding? Tell me, damn it! Bagheera, do you mind? Milady, please stop.
Beatrice exists! Exists!
Damn it, let go of me, Genji! Maria knows who the culprit is, and she's hiding their identity even now she knows! She must be telling them what we're doing, guiding them as they kill us! Jessica, be silent! Jessica grabbed at Maria. Genji tried to stop her, but Jessica could not be calmed. The next thing I heard was the sound of Aunt Natsuhi slapping Jessica's face. After that, only Jessica's sorrowful, sobbing voice resounded through the hall. Maria-chan, I know there's no way you're the culprit. You've been with us since the beginning, and there was no time for you to communicate with any culprit. So I want you to tell me something. This Beatrice who handed you the letter yesterday, who was she? Although those words seemed kind, they clearly showed that George still had some remaining doubts about Maria. He didn't actually grab at her. However, he felt exactly the same way Jessica did. Aniki, I already asked her the same thing a second ago. Her answer was the same as before. I want to hear it from Maria's mouth. Who is Beatrice?
Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me anyway.
What do you mean by that? Could it be the culprit somewhere we know well? And you're keeping silent because you're covering for them for some reason? Who gave you that letter?
I got it from Beatrice. I'll say it no matter how many times you ask. I got the letter from Beatrice. George Oni-chan, do you refuse to believe in Beatrice because she's not an opponent you can hit? You want to turn your feelings of helplessness into violence and beat someone up. So you won't be satisfied unless your opponent is a human you can hit. So even if I tell you the truth, you won't accept it. So it's pointless for me to tell you. You won't believe it. But I'll keep on saying it because it's true. Beatrice exists. The door to the Golden Land will be open, soon be opened. I'll go there. Beatrice promised. In that world, Mama is nice, Papa is with us, and is also nice. I want to go there right away. Everyone is afraid of Beatrice, but that's only natural. So, calm yourselves. Beatrice said so herself. By the time the typhoon has passed, I'll have ended everything, she said. Ouch.
Maria, I don't mind you being talkative, but let's leave it at that for now. I'll bet this is all a pretty happy situation for you, but since you're always going on about how witches exist, but keep that to yourself for now. Don't try to force that on other people. I know I've been creeped out by this girl for a while now. But there really is something wrong with her. Don't you think so too, Battler? Genji-san? Kumasawa? What about you, Mom? Maria knows who the culprit is and she's hiding it. Okay, maybe she hasn't done anything directly, but she's definitely working with the criminal. That's right. She's a spy. We can't let her stay with us any longer. Maria-chan, you must realize there are times when indiscreet discussion is best avoided. If you keep adding oil to the fire, even I will get very angry. Aunt Natsuki glared at Maria with frightening eyes. Maria was used to Aunt Rosa's loud style of scolding, but she apparently hadn't built up a resistance to Aunt Natsuki's quiet sort of scolding. She shrugged and kept her mouth shut. A desolate feeling filled the room. It felt as though things would just get more complicated if anyone spoke. How many people have already died? 6 people in Dad's group. After that, both Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, Kanan-kun, grandfather. There were a whole 18 people on this island, supposedly, and 10 of those people have been killed. That's more than half of us. And right now, there's absolutely no proof that the remaining 8 people will be safe. At any rate, this is no time to quarrel. Now that we are certain the culprit can enter and leave the mansion at will, and strike out of nowhere, we must give our undivided attention to surviving until tomorrow. I agree strongly with Aunt Natsuki. We can figure out who the culprit is at our leisure tonight. For now, though, we're better off finding a place to barricade ourselves in. As I said this, I pointed out the clock to everyone. It was already 8 at night. We had been receiving stocks over and over again. Since the early morning, shocks, not stocks, I'm sorry. We have been receiving shocks over and over again since the early morning, and our bodies and minds are both completely tired out. There's still a long, long time until tomorrow. We needed to find some place to barricade ourselves in so we could rest our bodies and get even the smallest amount of relief. I agree. Everyone is already pushing their mental and physical limits, myself included. I believe it would be wise to take that into account as we move forward. That's right. There's a high probability that the enemy's got an equivalent of a master's key. Were Shannon, Canon-kun, Goda-san holding master keys? Yes. They were supposed to have them on their person during their work. We didn't want to disturb the scene, so we didn't investigate that closely. We can't eliminate the possibility that someone stole a key from them. In the first place, we know the culprit may have visited the servant room at some point to unlock the garden shed shutter. It's conceivable that they obtained a master key from there earlier on. There were many servants serving the Ushimiya family. Because of that, there were several master keys. Furthermore, every time one employee started or finished working, the keys were passed between servants. And we had to acknowledge that this had probably gotten a bit sloppy at times in the past. Even if they borrowed a bundle of keys from the pockets of one of the murdered servants, is there really any safe place that even those keys couldn't open? Because of the nature of our job, we have been entrusted with keys to all of the rooms. All of them in the mansion and in the guest house. So in other words, no matter where we hole up and lock ourselves in, it'd just be pointless. Fine. Who cares about locking up? If you're gonna come, bring it on, damn it! I'll beat you at your own game! The enemy won't approach us from the front. I don't know about the first 6, but if we look at what happened to my parents and Canon-kun, and even grandfather, the enemy has only gone after isolated people. They don't have the power to assault all of us openly in a secure room. That's right. It's just like Aniki says. And maybe Natsuhi's rifle can serve as a deterrent to stop them from attacking. I hope that is so, but... Maria, I know you want to say something, but keep it to yourself and stay quiet for a while. Maria probably wanted to say something about how witches weren't afraid of things like guns. But if she were to say it out loud, the atmosphere here would start to get pretty edgy. I had noticed and decided to put a stop to it. If I may, I do know of one place that cannot be entered, even with the servant keyrings. Where is that? That would be the master's study. I'm against this. I don't even want to think about going in grandfather's creepy room. How many keys can gain access to that room? There are 2. I always have one on my person. The other was held by Master himself, but just now I found this on his corpse in the boiler room. Genji-san took a handkerchief out of his pocket and opened it, showing us the burnt and filthy study case. Then, he showed it alongside his own key, which he had once lent to Natsuhi. Normally, it would have been proper to leave the master's key for the police. But because of the master's orders to protect the safety of the study, I borrowed it for the time being. I see. Which means that Kinzo-san's study is the only place where we can be safe. It would appear that way. I don't even want to think about being shut up in that strange room all night. But it appears we must acknowledge that his room is safer than anywhere else right now. Even though grandfather locked himself up in that safe room, the culprit brought him out and killed him. Can't be certain that it's truly safe. According to your own theory, grandfather cleverly found a way around that receipt trick and left the room of his own free will. If so, the room might be a good place to barricade ourselves in after all. You're too optimistic, Aniki. However, at the same time, I thought he brought up a pretty interesting point. After all, this gives us a chance to question the enemy, the witch herself. about how the sealed door had been opened. If we assume the culprit used some technique to kidnap grandfather from his study, they'd have to show us the same trick again if they wanted to assault us in the study. And that'd give us a chance to make the culprit prove how they did it right before our eyes. If she's really a witch, we'll be forcing her to use her little magic trick to open the door right in front of us. But that's probably impossible. If you spin the chessboard around, it's obvious the culprit is acting in a way that'll make us think they're a witch. If she really is a witch, all she's got to do is appear in front of us and wow us with a colorful display of magic. Since she's avoided doing that, everything must be the work of a fake witch. Who wants us to think she's real? Therefore, a culprit who used a technique other than magic to defeat the closed room couldn't open the door before our eyes. Is grandfather's room big enough for 8 people to stuff 8 people in? Yes. There is a bed, a sofa, and blankets. So while it is not luxurious, it will be more than suitable for spending the night. There is also a sink, a bathroom, a refrigerator, and a liquor cabinet. Whoa! That's incredible! But isn't that weird? You're saying he built another house inside his house? It's pretty cramped for the last house of someone like our grandfather, who bought a whole island and realized all of his dreams. That's right. After some point in time, Father probably couldn't feel at peace in any other place, even inside the mansion. We always sneered about how he shut himself up there, and this time we're the ones who are going to shut ourselves up. Jessica spat the words out. Jessica-chan, it sounds like you'd rather go search for the culprit than stay shut up somewhere. Of course. I don't think we'll be able to find them if we just start searching on our own. In the end, we can't do anything but wait. Then it doesn't matter where we wait, does it? What happened to this? I'm not gonna run away or hide. Why don't we just take it easy in the parlor, watching TV or something while we wait for this Beatrice-sama to appear? It's perfectly fine if she doesn't appear. There's no need for us to be the ones to expose the culprit. Well said. We shouldn't take needless risks before the police arrive. Thank you, Dr. Nanjo. I think we should move to Father's study. True, we have no proof that it's safe since Father was taken out of there. However, I can't deny the possibility that, as Battler-kun reasoned, Grandfather left the study of his own accord and was attacked outside. A while back, I proposed that a strange theory at a stopgap measure. But, just as Aunt Ava said, even though that trick would be possible, I couldn't explain what motive could have made Grandfather sneak out of his own study in such a troublesome way. Plus, Grandfather couldn't even have used that trick unless he knew that the receipt was wedged in the door. Ava hadn't pointed out that last part, but it's clear how absurd the theory was. So, does it mean that the sealed door formed a closed room, just as Ava claimed? Is it an undeniable fact that Aunt Natsuhi was the culprit? If Aunt Ava were here now, she'd probably make that claim openly and blow my strange theory away. But anyway, I had to admit that a room with both a bed and a toilet that all 8 people could be shut up in, and with only 2 keys, both of which were gathered here, had to be the safest place in the mansion right now. At the very least, I figured this would be better than just staying shut up in a parlor and hoping nothing would go wrong. But wait, have we been safe only because we've been shut up in the parlor? What if leaving that room, moving into an unexplored location is actually more dangerous? It's useless. It's useless. It's all useless. My flimsy head is about to break out in a fever. If I keep spinning the chessboard around, right and wrong will keep switching places over and over, and I won't be able to believe anything. When it seems like the culprit is one of the 18, I want to believe in Beatrice. And once I start believing in Beatrice, I start wanting to find out the culprit amid the 18. If that keeps spinning around forever. In my head, my thoughts won't have taken one step from where they started. How far back in the past was that Kyrie-san taught me about chessboard thinking? That concept of examining a situation by spinning it around and thinking from the enemy's side. I seem to remember being so interested by it back then. I used it to guide all my thinking. By the way, Kyrie-san was Dad's co-worker back then. I never dreamed that she'd someday be added to our family. Didn't Kyrie-san tell me something once? I get the feeling she once said while this chessboard thinking was one way to look at things, it certainly wasn't all powerful, and it wouldn't be good to rely on too much. Chessboard thinking is my own interpretation of something called game theory, which I read about in a book long ago. It's a very interesting subject, so you should tackle it yourself when you get into college, Betlakun. I really want to try it! If I could study and perfect my chessboard thinking, it'd be fun to be able to read into any opponent's moves, wouldn't it? But you can't believe in it blindly. Game theory is a very deep and complicated subject. Chessboard thinking is just my interpretation that skims the surface of game theory. In order to thoroughly read your opponent's moves, like you're imagining, you need to study your opponent. Additionally, while chessboard theory is convenient and practical, it isn't perfect. It has many weak points despite its convenience. Weak points? Yes, chessboard thinking is founded upon game theory. When you thoroughly investigate game theory, it boils down to math. Do you know what the weak point of math is? It's noise. In math, when you write 1 + 1 = 2, that process will all result in 1 + 1 = 2, no matter how many billions of years pass. Nothing more, nothing less. That's because there's absolutely no noise mixed in. But, for example, unlike math, the Japanese language has noise mixed in. Kanji are a good example. Old kanji and new kanji are slightly different, which represents an introduction of noise created by the changes between time periods. Isn't history the same? There are dozens of policies that seem to be foolish in the modern era, but were meaningful at some point in the past. Ah, shoot. What? Ooh, oh no. Okay, guys, I hate to have it end so abruptly like this. Unfortunately, I have to cut my stream short due to other things that I have to get done. So I am so sorry for the inconvenience, everyone. Thank you guys so much again. Again, sorry it's getting cut short really fast, but I promise I'll be back Thursday. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. And I love you so much. Mwah, 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 mwah.